Hi, I'm Richard Carlton. Welcome to the Coach's Corner. Hi everyone, Richard Carlton here. Now whether you're currently a FileMaker developer or you want to become a FileMaker developer, or maybe you manage FileMaker developers in your official capacity, you might want to pay attention to the National Weather Service. At least in the United States, sometimes we get very interesting weather alerts, right? So we have this Hurricane Dorian, which is going to affect the Florida area. And of course, I downloaded the latest informational warning and I found a couple interesting things. First off, at the top, I figured out the way the National Hurricane Center actually identifies its hurricanes. They actually have a primary key, and it's not the name of the hurricane. They have Dorian, but Dorian is just for public consumption, right? And the primary key they use is AL for Atlantic, 05, and then the year, so 2019. And this is the fifth hurricane in the Atlantic Basin in 2019. So that's how they create their primary key. Now, what was more interesting, as I read down below, I got this section down below here where it said that FileMaker servers will be destroyed. I thought that was very interesting. Now, in all seriousness, you're not going to receive a weather report that's going to tell you that your FileMaker server is going to be destroyed. However, for those of you who have businesses in these affected areas and you have a local FileMaker server, which is fine, and you leave the server there and the hurricane comes in, or a tornado, or a flood, or a fire, or whatever, zombie apocalypse, right? You need to be thinking about the fact that that server is likely to be totally destroyed. In fact, you could actually have your building broken into and your FileMaker server stolen because someone thinks it's a computer that they can resell for drug money. So how do you prevent this from happening to you? Well, you can't prevent it from happening. However, you can minimize the impact to your business by making sure that you have offsite backups of your database, right? That means that your FileMaker server must be set up to create a backup that writes to Dropbox or to Box or some sort of other offline cloud service. Or maybe it even figures out a way to FTP it and move it to another office somewhere. The point is there are a lot of options for how to have an offsite backup, and you definitely need to have an offsite backup. Why is this? Well, if the server turns into a swampy mess, you lose all the data on the drive, it probably can't be recovered. And you could end up losing all your data. At the end of the day, the data that's in your FileMaker database is probably worth a whole lot more than all the computers that might be destroyed. If you have an office of 10 people and they all have to get new laptops, then worst case scenario, you're out between, say, $7,000 to $15,000, maybe $20,000. But that FileMaker file with that data in there, well, maybe it can't be replaced. And the data in there is worth maybe $500,000 or $1 million. Maybe without that data, you go out of business. That would be bad. So what you want to do is make sure that your FileMaker server is backed up off-site. So keep in mind that if you just run the installation process on your FileMaker server on Mac or Windows, understand that it will not automatically configure an off-site backup. In fact, it configures a very minimal backup for about 5 to 7 days. And so as a result, if that server itself, the hardware, is destroyed or stolen or whatever happens to it, well, that data is going to go away. If you hired someone to do the installation for you, you need to ask them what they specifically did and how you can get to that backup. Additionally, you want to periodically test that backup to make sure it's working. Log on to that backup location and make sure the data is actually there and that you can get the database down or your custom application down and you can open it up. That way you prove to yourself that it is working and ready to go. Ideally, this would be one of the jobs of your IT team that supports you. If you don't have an IT team, then you need to think about who supports, your computers. If a computer gets corrupted or you get a virus on your Windows machine or whatever, how do you get that fixed? And so obviously you have some sort of process for that. And that's what you need to think about. Now, if you have the FileMaker server, it's up on Amazon, then Amazon is more of a robust data center. But still, you need to make sure you have offsite backups on it, right? So if you're using FileMaker Cloud, that's kind of a different conversation. But if you're using FileMaker Server on Windows, up on an Amazon server, you still need to configure it to write an offsite backup, which means that the backups are written off that physical machine at the Amazon data center, and it's written to another location somewhere else, right? Makes sense? So feel free to find the people that set up your FileMaker server and ask them. And if they're not FileMaker specialists, then think about finding someone who really knows FileMaker installations and talking to them about getting your offsite backup set up. Every year I talk to a business where they have lost everything, and because they didn't choose to check their backups to make sure they actually had good backups, they didn't have any. And these are not even necessarily any of my customers. In fact, they're never my customers. They are people out there that we know, that we meet, they watch our training, and they go, yeah, we're good. We set up our FileMaker server. We're experts. We're professionals. We're good to go. Something bad happens, and they find out that they did the basic installation of FileMaker server. They didn't take the time to get it set up correct. So that's my hot tip to you. So when the hurricane or fire or some jerk wants to steal your computer, you're going to be covered.